In the heart of Gallia, the city square of Lutetia hungers for royal blood. Today, the king and his court face their end before the eyes of the nation. The square is packed, a storm of voices and anticipation. From the crowd, a figure in immaculate armor steps forward. With a single, chilling command, power crackles from his very being, storm contained within a man. Lightning dances across the scaffold as his magic infuses the executioner's blade, transforming it into a weapon of judgment. Another life ends, one more among nearly 100. With each snap of his power, the count rises, relentless, mechanical, cold. The fallen noble's last thought whispers of a revolution that failed, betrayed not by enemy but by their own. The armored man turns to the crowd, a liberator standing atop the corpses of tyrants. His voice cuts through the chaos, declaring an end to the king's cruelty and the dawn of an age of liberation. The masses erupt, their roars echoing through the city. Faces twisted with rage, they scream, "Down with the king! Burn in hell, you dog!" But from the shadows, another figure watches. Bound by powerful magic, a prisoner of this new order, his gaze burns with bitter truth. This idiotic mob, he thinks, they don't even realize they're being played. The cheers fade into hollow noise as his identity becomes clear. Isaac Quincy, the king's first counsel, once the right hand of the throne, now a captive witness to the rise of a new tyrant. And for Isaac Quincy, this is the worst day of his life. He's a captive of the very people who call themselves liberators. Isaac reveals the truth about the so-called Order of Liberation, a group of aristocrats claiming to fight for the people, but in reality, they were founded by the de Saxe family. The de Saxe, the true tyrants who've ruled from the shadows for centuries, have twisted the revolution into their own weapon. They've riled up the common folk into a frenzy, using chaos as a pretext to wipe out their rival. Now, their leader steps onto the stage, preparing for his grand finale. Before the roaring crowd, he presents his ultimate prize, the captured king and his royal council. The mob erupts in bloodlust, believing justice is near. But Isaac knows better. The de Saxe don't care who sits on the throne. They'll crown another puppet and keep ruling unseen. Their tyranny won't die, it will simply change faces. And then, with a cruel smile, the leader hurls a shocking accusation that sets the crowd ablaze once more. He said, "Friends, not only did they starve you, but they allied themselves with demons, sacrificing thousands of their own brothers and sisters in their thirst for power." The leader's voice thundered across the square, his words fanning the mob's rage. "We, the Order of Liberation, will not tolerate such despicable act." The crowd erupted in furious agreement, their cries shaking the very ground. But Isaac knew the truth. His eyes burned with the weight of their lie. "Bastard," he muttered. Under his breath, "They made it all up, the secret meetings with the demon king, the false accusation. It's all a setup to feed us to this bloodthirsty mob." Beside him, Elizabeth, another prisoner, turned toward him with trembling hope. "Do you think our last chance will come?" she whispered. Isaac's gaze swept the crowd. "He'll come," he said firmly. "I've known him for 20 years, he won't abandon us." Before she could reply, a guard struck Isaac with the butt of his spear, forcing him to kneel. The leader, oozing false pity, looked down at them both. "Such a waste," he sighed, his voice dripping with mock sorrow. Then his expression twisted into something vile. He gripped Elizabeth's face, his smile predatory. "You," he sneered, "only have a few minutes left to live." The mob roared louder, hungry for more blood, as Isaac clenched his fist, silently praying that their hidden ally would make his move, before it was too late. The leader smirks, making a vile suggestion for Elizabeth's final moment, that they should spend some time behind the platform. But before he can act, a commanding voice slices through the chaos, demanding he let her go. Startled, the leader shoves Elizabeth aside, sneering as he hurls more taunts at his captive. That's when the newcomer's patience finally runs out. The leader attempts to summon his guards, but his words die in his throat as a blinding surge of golden lightning tears through the air. The blast engulfs the platform, thunder cracking as the tyrant's helmet splits under the pressure. Shock ripples through his soldiers as they realize the unthinkable. The prisoner is breaking free. The restraint charm shatters, sparks flying in every direction. Desperate, the guards scramble to reinforce the spell, weaving frantic incantation. But Isaac stands defiant, muscles straining, eyes blazing. He can feel it. The charm was crafted to suppress his power, but not destroy it. The guards close in, their leader barking for him to stop his futile resistance. But Isaac only smirks, eyes gleaming with defiance. "You're already out of time," he says calmly, "because someone else is coming." His mind drifts back to a distant memory, to Silas Montfort, his closest friend and the strongest among them. A flashback unfolds of their academy days, when their powers first awakened and their bond was forged in shared struggle. Silas's life had been torn apart when the Dax family ordered the brutal murder of his parent. From that day, vengeance united them. Together, they vowed to bring down the corrupt nobility from within, dismantling tyranny piece by piece. But their righteous crusade was betrayed from the shadows, ending in blood and capture. The memory fades, replaced by the cold reality of chains and enemies. Still, his faith doesn't waver. Silas is out there, hidden, waiting. And when he arrives, the world will remember their name. Back in the present, the leader shifts his focus to the next victim. He drags forward another of the king's council, presenting him to the roaring mob as a traitor who brought famine and ruin to the realm. The crowd howls for blood as the leader declares the next execution, Isaac Quincy. Bound in glowing magical restraints, Isaac stands tall, defiance burning in his eyes. He knows he just has to endure a little longer. Silas will come. The leader sneers, asking if he has any last word. Isaac smirks, his voice steady despite the tension. Don't get too comfortable, he warned. You made one fatal mistake. The leader hesitates, curiosity flickering beneath his arrogance. Isaac's grin widens. You failed to capture the strongest of us all, Silas Montfort. The square falls silent, the name echoing like distant thunder, and for the first time, doubt cracks through the tyrant's mask. Isaac's eyes widen as the crowd part, revealing an armored figure stepping onto the platform. The man removes his helmet, and the world seems to stop. It's him, Silas Montfort, their last hope, the brother he trusted more than anyone. But instead of salvation, Isaac sees betrayal. Silas smirks, twisting their shared past into a cruel joke. Isaac's breath catches as his old friend speaks with chilling calm, admitting he never abandoned their plan. He simply changed sides. The de Sac's offer was more convincing, Silas says coldly. The words cut deeper than any blade. With practiced ease, he slides his helmet back on, becoming the faceless tyrant they once swore to destroy. Isaac can only stare, his heart breaking under the weight of betrayal. His mind flashes back to their younger days, brothers in arms, bloodied but laughing after another victory. Now, that bond is dust. In the present, Silas's smile holds no warmth, only the cold satisfaction of a man who's chosen power over loyalty. Silas looks down at his old friend and says coldly, "Don't take it personal. Business is business." Then, with a flick of his hand, he gives the order, "Send his former brother to the guillotine." The captive finally breaks, screaming Silas's name as the betrayal sinks deep like a blade through his heart. The realization hits hard. Silas has doomed every one of their comrades with a single, selfish act. Grief twists inside him, boiling into something darker. Rage. Pure, searing rage. Silas watches, unmoved, a monument to his own treachery. The air trembles as the captive's fury ignites. Power erupts from his body like a storm unleashed. The platform cracks beneath his feet, energy crackling through the air. His face contorts in pain and fury as he roars, the sound shaking the square. A blinding shockwave tears through the stage, flinging soldiers aside like rag doll. Gasps turn to screams as he shatters his magical restraints, finally free. A knight charges, sword raised high, but the blade halts inches from its target. Isaac's eyes blaze with madness. He catches the sword, with his teeth, and crushes it to splinters in one brutal bite. "Subdue him," Silas commands, his tone sharp but calm. Yet the captive moves like a phantom, a blur of crimson and light, cutting down every soldier that dares to stand in his path. The command shifts from capture to kill as archers draw their bows, loosing a deadly volley. But his eyes burn with icy vengeance. He lashes out, summoning a whip of pure energy that deflects the arrows mid-flight. His rage grows monstrous, forming behind him as a glowing, spectral beast, born from pain, betrayal, and the fury of a broken heart. The monstrous creature slams its colossal hand down, obliterating everything in its path. The ground quakes beneath its fury, leaving a crater of burning debris. Amidst the carnage, Isaac stands, half-human, half-rat, surrounded by a maelstrom of raw magic and grief. The guards, panicked and trembling, scramble to reweave the inhibition charm. They form a circle, their glowing runes flaring to life as chants rise in desperation. He roars again, his voice breaking with anguish, shouting Silas's name, reminding him of their brotherhood, of battles fought side by side. But Silas only watches, unmoved, his golden armor reflecting the firelight. With an almost bored sigh, he decides it's time to end this farce. The combined might of the guard's spells crashes down upon the captive, forcing him to his knees. His body trembles under the crushing weight of magic, but his spirit refuses to yield. Silas steps forward, murmuring, "If you want something done right." Golden light flares beneath the platform, forming a massive sigil that hums with divine power. The air crackles as the spell activates, slamming the captive to the ground. He screams in pain as new golden restraints snake around him, binding his limbs with searing heat. Silas grips his chin, cold amusement in his eyes. Then, with effortless strength, he hurls his former brother across the stage like a discarded toy. Dragged to the guillotine, bloodied and broken, the captive looks up and demands, "Why, Silas? Why betray us?" Silas turns away, his tone eerily calm. "You did nothing wrong, my friend," he says. "You were simply a pawn, one that's outlived its usefulness." Then comes the snap, sharp, merciless. The blade falls, silencing the last cry of a betrayed hero. Darkness consumes him, but something refuses to die. A spark ignites in the void. His eyes snap open, not to peace, but to fire and ruin. Flames engulf the horizon as he stumbles through a burning wasteland. Screams echoing all around. "So this is my reward," he mutters bitterly. "A hero's welcome in hell." Bodies fall, buildings crumble, and chaos reigns. Collapsing to his knees, he gasps, "I don't deserve this." Then, through the inferno, a familiar voice pierces the roar. Someone shouting, "Isaac, take cover." And just like that, the past collides with the present, and the story of Isaac Quincy is far from over. But then, Isaac realizes, this isn't hell. It's his past. The flames around him aren't from some infernal afterlife. They're from his own village, burning to the ground. He recognizes the banners, the armor glinting in the firelight, Count Rahl's eastern faction. His breath catches as the scene unfolds just as it did 20 years ago. Screams fill the night, homes crumble, and steel clashes on stone. A desperate voice shouts his name, trying to break through his trance. He turns toward it and freezes. The boy's face, young, frightened, determined, it's Gaben, his childhood best friend. The same friend he lost on this night. In the memory, Gaben grabs Isaac's arm, trying to pull him away from the carnage. "We have to go," he cries. But before they can move, an armored hand reaches out, yanking Gaben back with brutal force. The boy slams into a wall, the impact knocking the air from his lungs. His terrified eyes lock onto the towering figure before him, an armored giant with a massive axe gleaming in the firelight. This is the fate of all who defy Count Rahl. The knight bellows, raising the weapon high. Isaac's voice trembles, whispering his friend's name as the blade begins to fall. But this time, he refuses to be frozen by fear. His body moves on instinct. He grabs a fallen shield, surging forward through smoke and fire. With a flash of motion, he intercepts the killing blow meant for Gaben, the clash of steel echoing like thunder. The knight stumbles, shocked by the sudden interference. Isaac drives his fist into the giant's chest plate, forcing him back a step. Then Isaac falters. Something's wrong. He stares at his trembling hands, confusion dawning. The familiar pulse of magic is gone, his power has vanished. The knight recovers, seizing Isaac by the hair and sneering, "Not bad, boy. But such insolence means you'll never live long enough to become a soldier." But Isaac isn't listening. His eyes are fixed on Gaben, his one chance to change what was lost. A strange thought flashes through Isaac's mind, his face. He raises a trembling hand to his cheek and freezes. The scar he's carried for decades is gone. Before he can process it, a familiar voice cries out through the chaos, "Isaac, run!" He turns to see a younger version of himself, a terrified child staring back in disbelief. The knight ignores the boy, focusing on the man before him. The massive axe descends, a death blow impossible to block. With no magic, no strength, Isaac braces for the inevitable. Then, impact, but not his. The axe halts mid-swing, caught in one hand by a figure cloaked in flame and smoke. The mysterious savior grits his teeth, holding back the giant's strength with sheer will. The armored knight scoffs, pressing harder, forcing the ground to crack beneath them. "Futile," he snarls. The savior's mind races, then a memory strikes. A design flaw. The neck joint. In a single fluid motion, he pivots on his heel, letting the knight's own momentum drag the axe off course. The opening flashes before him, a narrow gap in the armor. His eyes harden with cold precision as his blade arcs upward, striking true with a sickening crunch. The knight staggers, collapsing to his knees. "Pick up a weapon," the swordsman urges the young Isaac. "Fight." 2 decades of war have forged him into something unbreakable, and now, that skill is his only weapon against fate itself. The knight's blood splatters across the swordsman's blade as he stands over the fallen foe, breathing hard, eyes sharp and cold, a warrior born from countless battles. His movements were precise, lethal, almost instinctual. Gavin, still trembling from the fight, stares in disbelief. "Isaac, where did you learn to fight like that?" he asks. Our hero, trapped in Isaac's younger body, can only stare back, unable to answer. Before he can speak, a hand grips his shoulder, grounding him. It's Gavin, alive. alive, smiling, completely unaware of the miracle before him. Relief floods Isaac's chest, but something feels off. He studies his friend's face, his mind spinning. Gavin laughs awkwardly, mistaking Isaac's silence for shock after the brutal encounter. But Isaac knows the truth now. This isn't a dream or an illusion. Somehow, impossibly, he's gone back 20 years, to the night everything was lost. His last memory burns bright, the guillotine, Silas's cold eyes, and the flash of golden magic as the blade fell. And now, here he stands, given one final chance to rewrite the past. The hand on his shoulder snaps him out of his grim recollection. Gaben's urgent voice cuts through the chaos, shouting that their families are in danger. Count Rahl's men are pillaging, burning, and slaughtering everything in sight. Flames devour rooftops, smoke fills the air, and the cries of terrified villagers echo through the once peaceful streets. Isaac, or rather, the man within him, watches in disbelief, realizing that this isn't some illusion or dream. This is real. He's truly back, on the day his nightmare began. The day his village was wiped from existence. The day he lost everyone he loved. Memories crash over him like a storm. Gaben's lifeless body, his parents' screams, the stench of burning flesh. This was the day his crusade for vengeance began, the day that forged the warrior he became. But now, Gaben's desperate cry pulls him back from his spiraling thoughts. He doesn't know how or why he's been sent back to this moment in time, but the reason doesn't matter. Not when the people he lost are still alive. Not when he has the chance to change everything. Fueled by that burning resolve, he sprints toward the heart of the chaos, shouting Gaben's name. "My parents, they're still alive," he yells, his voice cracking with emotion. As he runs, his mind races. "I don't know why I've been brought back here," he thinks, "but this time, I'm not going to let them die." The determination in his chest burns hotter than the fires around him. He remembers who he used to be, one of Gallia's greatest warriors, a man who could stand toe-to-toe with the de Sax family themselves. But now he's back in his teenage body, frail, powerless, years away from awakening his true strength. Just a peasant boy armed with experience and memory. Suddenly, a bolt of golden energy slams into the street ahead, exploding with deafening force. The shockwave nearly knocks him off his feet, but his instincts, forged from decades of battle, take over. He grabs Gaben and shoves him aside just as the ground erupts in sparks. Dust fills the air as he plants his feet, standing between his friend and the danger. This time, he vows, no one dies. Peeking from the ruined doorway, Isaac realizes they're facing a noble of terrifying power, Zivilo, Count Rahl's son, radiating destructive energy like a living storm. Golden lightning crawls across his armor, a red, searing aura licking the air around him. Two desperate villagers kneel before Zivilo, hands clasped, pleading for mercy over their single remaining possession, a battered cottage. He sneers, savoring their fear, and offers a grotesque bargain: hand over the house, or he'll immolate them inside it. The golden arc of his power tightens, gathers, then detonates in a brutal burst. Flames engulf the couple, screams shred the night. Isaac's stomach drops. He recognizes this exact slaughter from the original timeline, the same family gutted like animals while he stood helpless and watched. Only now the horror is doubled. He's trapped in a weaker body, a teenage peasant with memories of a warrior but none of the strength. He cannot stop what's happening. Panic flares in Gaben's eyes. The boy wants to run, to cry for help, to do anything. Isaac thinks faster. He whispers, urgent and low, that they must slip to his house nearby and flee across the rooftops. Keep low, don't draw Zivilo's gaze. They break into a sprint, feet thudding across slick tiles, breath ragged, hearts hammering. But their route is cut brutally short. A patrol of Count Rahl's soldiers blocks the lane, full plate glinting, swords at the ready. Isaac's blood runs cold with dawning understanding. They've already reached his home. The net is tighter than he remembered. Gaben's fear spills into frantic chatter, arguing they should seek aid, find an elder, delay, anything but charge in. Isaac's face hardens. He sizes up the patrol in a heartbeat. Common foot soldiers, drilled and armored, not magic-wielding nobles. That's a sliver of hope. He recalculates, instincts honed by decades of war overriding the teenager's body. They'll need misdirection, speed, and a little brutal cunning. He nods once to Gaben, silent, decisive, and the two slip sideways, pressing the shadows, eyes searching for the smallest opening they can turn into an escape. He may have lost his powers, but 20 years of battlefield experience still flow through his veins, knowledge that no magic could erase. Without a moment's hesitation, Isaac vaults onto the roof of his childhood home. The tiles crack beneath his feet as he spots an opening, a narrow window on the upper floor. Without a second thought, he dives through it, glass shattering around him as he lands hard inside. The sight before him makes his blood run cold. His mother is being strangled by a soldier while two others watch, one restraining his father as he struggles helplessly. Isaac's mind snaps into focus, every sense sharpening. 3 hostiles, one choking his mother, one restraining his father, one standing guard. The nearest soldier turns, startled by the sudden crash. A peasant? He scoffs, drawing his sword. Deal with him. Isaac doesn't flinch. His eyes scan the room and land on the kitchen counter. A knife, small but deadly in the right hands. He grabs it without hesitation. The soldier laughs at the sight, mocking the boy's audacity. But his grin fades as Isaac moves. The blade flashes once, slipping neatly into the gap between armor plates. The man gasps, collapsing before he even registers the strike. One down. Isaac's eyes burn with cold precision, the look of a killer, not a child. The remaining soldiers hesitate, confused by the impossible speed and accuracy. Isaac doesn't give them time to recover. He lunges forward, driving the second soldier back with a flurry of precise, practiced strikes. Steel meets steel as the man barely parries, his confidence crumbling under the boy's relentless assault. But instinct screams a warning, another attacker behind him. The third soldier lunges, sword raised high, aiming for Isaac's back. He's cornered, trapped between 2 blades, sweat dripping from his brow. The boy's body is young and weak, but his mind is that of a veteran. He shifts his stance, calculating every angle, ready to gamble everything on one decisive move that could turn this deadly stalemate in his favor. Thinking fast, Isaac uses the soldier's own body as leverage, kicking off his chest and propelling himself upward. The 2 soldiers strike at once, but instead of hitting Isaac, their blades collide in a brutal clash. The rear soldier's swing cleaves through his ally, cutting him down in a spray of blood. Isaac lands gracefully behind the last man standing, his hand steady as he presses the kitchen knife against the soldier's exposed throat. A cold, almost relieved smile spreads across his face. "It's your lucky day," he mutters, his voice low and steady. "I never thought I'd see my family alive again." With a single, decisive motion, he slashes the man's throat. The body falls limp, the sound of clattering armor echoing through the ruined home. For a moment, there's only silence, then his mother gasps his name, rushing into his arms. His father follows, confusion and disbelief written across his face. Isaac holds them tightly, the weight of 20 years of loss melting away in that single embrace. His father finally pulls back, his voice trembling. "Son, where did you learn to fight like that?" Isaac just gives a strained smile and avoids the question. "Because I'm a time traveler isn't exactly easy to explain while the village burns around them." Snapping back to the chaos outside, Isaac quickly takes command. "We don't have time," he says firmly. "We need to head for the forest. It's the only way out." His mind races with memories from his past life. He remembers now, the only survivors of this massacre were those who escaped into the woods. Spotting Gaben darting between burning houses, Isaac shouts for him to join them. He assures his friend that his parents are safe, their home lies near the forest's edge. But a darker memory resurfaces. In the original timeline, Gaben never made it that far. Isaac clenches his fists, silently vowing that this time, history will not repeat itself. Together, the small group sprints through the smoke and fire, hearts pounding, leaving behind the village that had once been their home. Isaac glances back once, eyes blazing with determination. This time, no one he loves will die. For a brief, fragile moment, peace settles over the smoking forest. Isaac tells his family to stay hidden while he scouts ahead. His tone is calm but commanding, far beyond his years. Gaben watches in confusion, unable to recognize the friend he once knew. Isaac speaks like a soldier, not a scared village boy. But before he can question it, the weight of the day finally hits everyone. The adrenaline fades, exhaustion takes hold, and Isaac's body, still that of a powerless teenager, finally gives out. He collapses to the forest floor, darkness swallowing his vision. His mind slips into the nightmare of memory. The scaffold, the execution, the final moments of his first life. He remembers his comrades, bound, broken, and betrayed, before Silas's cold eyes met his. That cruel smirk, those final words, "You were always just a pawn." Then the guillotine's flash, the sound of steel cutting air, and his world ended. The memory burns, but a voice cuts through the darkness. Gaben's desperate cry. "Isaac, wake up." His eyes flutter open. Sunlight filters through the forest canopy, dancing across his face. He blinks, disoriented, before the truth hits him again. He's still here. He's really been sent back 20 years. The forest air is cool and real, his family nearby, alive. This is no dream. Isaac clenches his fists, whispering a vow to himself. This time, he won't fail. He has knowledge, skill, and the memories of a warrior. The future isn't written yet, and he intends to rewrite it from the ashes. But he barely has time to think before a twig snaps nearby. His instincts flare. He's been found. "Everyone, get down," he shouts. In the distance, but then he notices Gaben, kneeling motionless in the dirt. "Gaben?" Isaac calls, confusion twisting into dread. His father's voice trembles as he explains, "The soldiers soldiers, they found Gaben's parents. Isaac's blood runs cold. That wasn't supposed to happen. In the original timeline, they survived. His mind reels as he realizes every change he makes ripples across time, rewriting fates in ways he can't yet control. Isaac's father gently rests a hand on his shoulder, trying to calm him. Give Gaben some time, he says quietly. But Isaac can't look away. His friend's broken sobs cut through him like a blade, a painful reminder of how badly he's already failed. Something's wrong. The past isn't aligning with his memories. The timeline is shifting, cracking apart like glass, and the events he thought he knew are no longer reliable. He turns sharply to his father, frustration and confusion bleeding into his voice. Their house was right by the forest. They should have made it. Why didn't they get to safety? His father's calm expression falters as he exhales heavily, the weight of the truth pressing down on him. The Count's son, Zevold, he begins grimly. When he found his soldiers dead, he lost control. The man went mad, lightning everywhere, cutting through anything that moved. No one stood a chance. Isaac's heart stops. The realization hits him like a hammer to the chest. It's my fault. His stomach twists as the truth settles in. The dead soldiers, the rage of Zevold, it all traces back to him. In saving his parents, he had doomed Gaben's. His friends' cries echo through the clearing, each sob another blow to Isaac's already battered conscience. He clenches his fists until his knuckles turn white, then slams his foot into the dirt, fury and guilt boiling over. The forest around him feels suffocating, mocking him with its false calm. He looks to the sky, his voice trembling with anger. Is this what you wanted? He whispers bitterly to whatever power brought him back. Is this supposed to be my second chance, or just punishment? For a moment, there's only silence. Then his father grips his shoulder firmly, grounding him. Don't lose yourself, son, he says, voice steady despite the grief in his eyes. This isn't your doing. The true monsters are the nobles, the ravels, the ones who built this nightmare. Isaac's breathing steadies, but his gaze hardens. The guilt remains, but beneath it burns something stronger, a cold, focused rage. If this was fate's test, he was done being its victim. His father's voice is calm, not accusing. The ravels are the real monsters here, son, he says firmly. None of this is your fault. Gaben told me you saved his life. He's alive because of you. Those words strike deep, piercing through the storm of guilt and grief. His father's quiet pride feels almost unreal after so much loss. For the first time since his return, Isaac feels something other than despair, a flicker of purpose. He can't undo what's been lost, but he can still decide what comes next. He tightens his fists, the familiar tension of battle-ready resolve coursing through him. I won't waste this second chance, he vows silently. This time, I'll change everything. 20 years of pain, strategy, and survival still live within him. That's his one advantage, his weapon. But he knows it's not enough. As he is now, weak and powerless, he can't even hold his own against common soldiers. Reawakening his lost powers isn't just a goal, it's a necessity. His gaze hardens, a spark of determination lighting behind his eyes. This time, he whispers, I'll protect everyone. His mind drifts, unbidden, to a face from his past, his little sister, Madeline. Her laughter, her innocent faith in him. And then, the crushing guilt. After their parents' deaths, he had been consumed by revenge, abandoning her in the care of the village alderman. A man he once trusted completely. But he had learned too late that the alderman was a monster hiding behind kind words. That man had sold Madeline to the Count's men, feeding her into the same cruelty that destroyed so many lives. Isaac still remembers her cries, pleas for the brother who never came. The memory burns like acid. In the end, she couldn't endure it. Her light was snuffed out, another victim of his failure. Now, standing beneath the quiet forest canopy, that haunting memory fades, and his breath catches. There she is, alive. Madeline, his little sister, stands before him, her eyes bright and innocent, untouched by the horrors to come. The shock hits him like a wave, and before he can think, he rushes forward, pulling her into a fierce embrace. She laughs, confused but happy, unaware of the tears in his eyes. He holds her tighter, swearing silently to the heavens that he'll never let her suffer again. But then, like ice cutting through his warmth, a chilling realization dawns. The village alderman still lives, and the same horrors are destined to repeat, unless Isaac stops them first. A desperate cry pierces the air, shattering the fragile moment of peace. It's Gaben, calling out for his own sister. The sound jolts Isaac to attention. He turns sharply and demands, Where's Hannah? Where's your sister? Gaben wipes his tears, voice trembling. She's safe, he says. The alderman took her in after my parents went to heaven. His words twist like a knife in Isaac's gut. Horror dawns on him. Saving his own family had doomed Gaben's. In the first timeline, the alderman's treachery had destroyed his sister's life. Now, history threatens to repeat itself, with Hannah as the next victim. Isaac grabs Gaben by the shoulders, urgency in his tone. You can't let her stay with him. The alderman, he's not what he seems. But Gaben only frowns, confused. What are you talking about? He's our leader. Everyone respects him. Before Isaac can argue further, a familiar, oily voice cuts through the air. Ah, there you boys are. The alderman steps from the shadows, the same kindly mask he always wore plastered across his wrinkled face. To everyone else, he's a pillar of the community. To Isaac, he's a snake hiding behind false kindness. The man approaches with open arms, speaking gently to Gaben. My boy, you've suffered enough. Don't worry, I'll look after you and Hannah. You can rest easy now. Gaben sniffles, his grief softening into gratitude. Thank you, sir. I don't know what we'd do without you. Isaac's fists clench. Every word from the alderman's mouth makes his blood boil. He wants to scream, to expose the truth, but no one would believe him. In this time, he's just a frightened peasant boy. Speaking out would only make him seem delusional. When Gaben notices his silence, he asks softly, Isaac, are you okay? You're acting strange. Isaac forces a weak smile and mutters, just tired. I need some air. As night falls, the forest is cloaked in uneasy quiet. The flicker of distant flames still paints the horizon, remnants of the Count's rampage. Isaac sits apart from the others, staring toward the smoldering village. He remembers his past life, how, after his parents' deaths, he fled to the mountains. That was where his dormant powers had first awakened, weeks later, by sheer accident. But this time, he knows the truth. He knows the ritual, the place, and the key to unlocking his strength again. 2 days. That's all he needs. 2 days to reclaim his power and prevent the nightmare from repeating. With grim resolve, Isaac rises under the cover of darkness, slipping silently through the trees. His gaze drifts to the ruins of his home, the destruction even worse than before, thanks to Zyvold's rage. The path ahead is dangerous, but Isaac's eyes burn with purpose. This time, he will not run. This time, he will fight back. But before Isaac can begin his quest to regain his powers, there's one rat he needs to exterminate first. His gaze hardens as it falls upon the crooked home of the village alderman, the man whose false kindness hides monstrous cruelty. The night air is thick with silence, broken only by a faint, desperate scream from within. Without hesitation, Isaac rushes toward the sound. Inside, chaos unfolds. Gaben's sister, Hannah, is cornered, trembling as 2 massive hounds snarl and lunge toward her. Their glowing eyes reflect pure malice, teeth bared, awaiting the alderman's signal. She cries for help, her voice breaking with fear, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. The alderman steps closer, his face twisting into a sneer that shatters the illusion of the kindly elder everyone trusts. His voice drips with venom as he taunts her, saying no one will come, no one ever comes. Just as Hannah's last bit of hope flickers out, a new voice cuts through the darkness like a blade. You really are vermin, alderman. Whether in this life or the next, filth like you always shows its true face. The alderman freezes, fury flashing in his eyes as he turns toward the intruder. You, he snarls, recognizing Isaac. You dare interrupt me? Do you have a death wish, boy? But Isaac stands firm, his expression cold and unyielding. The air between them crackles with tension. Not a death wish, Isaac says quietly, a promise. Rage distorts the alderman's face. Then die with your arrogance, he roars, snapping his fingers. His 2 hounds launch forward like living shadows, claws tearing the floorboards as they rush Isaac. For a split second, fear grips him. He's still powerless, just a boy again. But instinct takes over. Isaac pivots sharply, narrowly evading the first lunge, feeling the rush of air as fangs snap inches from his arm. His movements are swift, fluid, echoes of a warrior reborn. He dives toward the doorway, forcing the beasts to chase him away from Hannah. The second hound slams into a table, splintering wood, as Isaac bursts into the next room. Thinking fast, he slams the door behind him, trapping one beast and buying precious seconds. Breathing hard, he steadies himself. He's not the man he once was, but tonight, he'll remind the world that even without power, he's still a fighter. The alderman only smirked, unfazed as Isaac slammed the door. He picked up a heavy axe with the practiced care of a man who'd used it more than once for darker work and, with relish, began his villainous monologue. You really think anyone would have thought to save them? He sneered, setting the axe on his shoulder. I asked Count Rahl's men to remove your parents, so I could get Madeline. Ruined lives are a small price for a comfortable title. He laughed, a dry, rattling sound, and tightened his grip. I suppose I'll have to teach you about gratitude the hard way. The axe rose. Isaac met the confession with only a cold, humorless scoff. Go on, he said flatly. I've heard worse. The alderman's nostrils flared. He hadn't expected to be mocked by a peasant boy. Isaac continued, slow and deliberate, unspooling the conspiracy the way a surgeon exposes a wound. He named the count, the promises of nobility, the dates, the hidden meetings, details the alderman had never meant anyone to know. Each revelation stole the man's color. Who told you? The alderman spat, voice cracking between fear and fury. Isaac's answer was simple and terrible. The alderman had told him once 20 years ago in another life, right before Isaac had cut him down beneath a different sky. He described that old confession with surgical calm, then added, with a smile colder than the blade he held, that he'd come to enjoy repeating certain acts. The admiring face drained from the alderman's features. There was a beat of stunned silence, a fragile moment where the shadows seemed to listen. Then the alderman lunged, axe swinging with ugly intent. He moved with surprising speed for a bloated coward, but a lifetime of warfare sharpened Isaac's reflexes beyond his teenage body's limits. He slipped the first arc with a lean and a roll, closing the distance like a practiced predator. The kitchen knife, laughable in any other hands, was a scalpel in his. He ducked under a wild overhand and, in a single clean motion, rose through the alderman's guard. Metal met flesh, the blade sank deep. Blood painted the floorboards as Isaac twisted and pulled free. The alderman's shout died into a choke. His axe clattered and fell. The alderman staggers back, clutching his bleeding arm, disbelief etched across his face. Impossible, he spits, trembling with rage. You're just a filthy peasant. But Isaac doesn't flinch. His stance is calm, practiced, the stance of a warrior who's faced death more times than he can count. The alderman roars, raising his axe and swinging it down in a vicious arc. Isaac sidesteps, smooth as water, then drives his shoulder into the man's chest with brutal precision. The impact sends the older man stumbling. Isaac presses his advantage, his knife flashing like quicksilver, every strike fueled by 20 years of combat instinct. Where did you learn this? The alderman gasps between blows. Isaac's voice is low, cold, final. You should worry less about that and more about how much it's going to hurt. He leaps, aiming a killing kick, but suddenly, the world explodes in light. A surge of golden electricity bursts from the alderman's hands, slamming into Isaac midair. Pain tears through his body as he crashes into the far wall. Sparks crawl across the floor, burning into his skin. Isaac groans, stunned, his thoughts scattering before the brutal realization hits. The alderman is a magic user. In this fragile young body, he's weaker, and the thought burns. Still, his eyes harden with resolve. In previous life, he was damn strong that this old man can't even think to attack him. That's how he killed this alderman man. The traitor laughs, the sound sick and triumphant. Did you think Count Rahl rewarded me with gold and land alone? He sneers, electricity crackling at his fingertips. He gave me the ultimate gift, power. Real power. He helped me to awaken my magical ability. We're reminded once more of the noble, the self-proclaimed saviors, the tyrants who drain the lifeblood of the common folk to fuel their own grandeur. Their world stands upon an empire of lies, upheld by an inherited power that seems divine. Through the control of electric currents, they move faster than the eye can follow, their bodies glowing with arcs of raw lightning. They conjure barriers strong enough to shatter steel, and their sigils blaze like miniature suns as they weave spells that reshape the battlefield. In their cruelty, they can reduce a living being to ash with nothing but a flick of their wrist. To the people, this power is said to be a sacred gift, bestowed by God so the nobles might defend humanity from the demonic hordes spilling from the southern waste. But Isaac knows better. That holy tale is nothing more than propaganda, a story crafted to keep the poor obedient. The truth is far darker. Anyone, noble or peasant, can wield that same power through a forbidden creation. Special pills, crafted in secret by the upper lord. The alderman, shaking with greed and anticipation, confirms that the Count's promise was no lie. As the drug courses through his veins, he feels a surge of electricity, his body trembling with newfound might. Dreams of leaving behind his wretched village and standing among the elite fill his mind. Isaac, however, only smirks. You'll never be one of them, he says coldly. At best, you'll be their lackey, doing their dirty work until they toss you aside. The alderman's fury ignites. For someone about to die, you sure love to run your mouth. He roars, unleashing another blinding bolt. But Isaac moves like lightning itself, dodging effortless, eyes gleaming with calm defiance. Isaac quickly realizes the truth. The alderman may have power, but he's no master of it. His attacks are wild, desperate bursts of lightning that scorch everything except their target. Isaac knows he can win, but without his own abilities, one misstep means death. He dodges another blast, eyes scanning the room for an opening, when something catches his attention, a spool of copper wire glinting in the corner. A perfect conductor, and maybe his only chance. The alderman laughs, thunder echoing in his voice. Nowhere left to run, boy. Isaac ignores him, his mind already piecing the plan together. He dives for the spool, barely avoiding a strike that splits the floor. His hands move fast, tying one end of the wire to a broken candelabra, unspooling it across the room as he runs. Each step is a gamble, every second a test of nerve. Isaac secures the other end of the wire to a decorative sword and shield, completing a deadly circuit. He loops it tightly around a metal doorknob, then threads it upward to the iron chandelier hanging above, the final piece of his makeshift trap. Every part of the room is now charged with potential death. All he needs is for the alderman to strike. A confident smirk spreads across Isaac's face. What kind of noble misses this many shots? He taunts. The insult lands perfectly. The alderman's rage boils over, lightning flaring around him like a storm unchained. You dare mock me, peasant? He bellows, gathering all his stolen power into one final blast. Isaac doesn't flinch. His eyes narrow, calculating the moment down to the heartbeat. With a roar, the alderman unleashes a massive surge of golden lightning, the air crackling with heat and fury. Isaac moves instantly, hurling the copper spool straight into the heart of the oncoming energy, triggering the trap he spent every second preparing. The raw energy slams into the copper, and in an instant, Isaac's trap roars to life. The entire room floods with blinding light as electricity dances along the wires, turning his desperate plan into a brilliant execution. A sharp grin flashes across Isaac's face. It's working. With a swift, calculated kick, he sends the spinning spool flying into perfect alignment, closing the circuit. The alderman barely has time to react before his own lightning rebounds upon him, surging through the copper like a vengeful spirit. The wire lashes around his body, trapping him in a blazing web of golden current. The mighty noble, once drunk on power, now trembles as his strength turns against him. Every dodge, every step Isaac took had been part of the setup, a calculated dance to weave this electrified snare. The alderman's eyes widen in dawning horror as realization hits. You planned this, he gasped. Isaac's voice is steady, almost calm. You were never fighting me. You were fighting yourself. The final surge strikes, and the man is hurled backward, engulfed in a storm of his own creation. His screams fade into crackling silence as smoke and ozone fill the air. When the light dies, the alderman kneels amid the wreckage, body shaking, voice breaking. How did a mere boy defeat me? He croaks. Isaac exhales, brushing dust from his sleeve, irritation flickering across his face. Honestly, I'm surprised you're still alive, he mutters. As he approaches, picking up a blood-stained knife, the alderman's arrogance shatters into fear. He stammers, offering power, wealth, even a noble title, if Isaac spares him. But Isaac's gaze is cold, his words sharper than any blade. After what you did to my sister, you dare beg? The alderman's confusion is genuine, or maybe it's just another lie. Either way, Isaac's patience is gone. He steps forward, shadow falling over the broken man. The ghostly image of Isaac's future self flickers into being behind him, a spectral reminder of the vengeance that binds his fate. Its hollow voice echoes through the chamber, a cold promise that no matter the lifetime, their battles will always end the same way, with Isaac standing, and his enemies broken. The alderman barely has time to draw a breath before Isaac moves. With one ruthless, final slash, he fulfills that promise. The blade cuts through arrogance, through cruelty, through the man's last gasp of defiance. When the light fades, the alderman's reign of terror ends in a crimson pool spreading across the stone floor. Silence follows, heavy and absolute. Isaac turns toward Gaben's sister, Hannah, trembling, eyes wide, but she's already fainted from the horror she's witnessed. He exhales, the adrenaline ebbing, the weight of his choices settling in. Gently, he lifts her into his arms and mutters softly, "Let's get you home." His path forward is clear, reunite her with her brother, Gaben. But fate isn't finished with him yet. As Isaac kicks open the door, he's greeted not by freedom, but by the alderman's last defense. Two enormous, snarling hounds. Their eyes blaze, teeth bared, ready to tear him apart. Yet Isaac doesn't flinch. His expression hardens, he's faced worse. The beasts charge, and stop short, whimpering as if recognizing something greater in him. The once vicious guardians now lower their heads, subdued by the aura of their master's killer. Meanwhile, back at the survivors' camp, Gaben sighted, in deep thought, despair clouding his face. Isaac's father's quiet words offer little comfort. "Don't worry, son. Isaac will come back." Just as he says it, a sound stirs at the doorway. Gaben turns, heart pounding, and there stands Isaac, carrying Hannah. Relief crashes through him. As he takes his sister into his arms, his voice trembles, demanding an. Isaac's gaze is cold, unflinching. And then, he tells him everything. Isaac's voice cuts through the heavy silence as he lays bare the truth. "The alderman was a traitor," he says coldly. "He sold us out to the eastern faction, helped them plan the assault on our village. And worse, he intended to hurt your sister." Gaben's eyes widen in shock, panic rising in his chest. "And you're sure he didn't follow you?" he asks, voice trembling. Isaac meets his gaze steadily. "He won't be following anyone. He won't be hurting anyone again." The room falls quiet, the reality of Isaac's words sinking in like a blade. Then, Isaac straightens, his expression hardening with purpose. "I have a mission to finish," he announces, glancing around the room. "Something I must do alone." His eyes burn with a quiet fire, a resolve that leaves no room for doubt. "I can't tell you more, but while I'm gone, stay here. The village is safe now. I'll be back in a few days." His father steps forward, resting a hand on his shoulder, pride shining in his eye. "Whatever you're planning, son, we'll be ready. The Count's tyranny must end, and we'll stand with you." For a moment, Isaac is struck silent, seeing in his father's face the courage he once overlooked. He grips his father's arm tightly, the unspoken bond between them stronger than ever. "I won't let you down," he says firmly. His father smiles. Simple, powerful gesture. "I know you won't. I'm proud of you." With his family safe and his heart set, Isaac turns toward the mountain. The path ahead is treacherous, but his steps are steady, every stride echoing determination. As the sun dips behind the peaks, he vanishes into the wilderness, heading toward the summit, where the secret to his lost power awaits. Isaac steps slow as memories flood back, his first life, his first failure. He remembers running to these very mountains after losing everything, wandering aimlessly for weeks, consumed by grief and rage. Eventually, he collapsed beneath an old, weathered tree, broken and alone. It was there that fate struck, literally. A bolt of raw lightning crashed from the heavens, searing through him. Most people would call that a near-death experience. For Isaac, it was a rebirth. Now, standing beneath that same ancient tree, he finally understands the truth. The tree isn't ordinary, it's a natural lightning rod, a conduit between earth and sky. The air around him crackles with building energy, the storm gathering above like an old friend. Isaac exhales, eyes gleaming with resolve. This time, he won't wait for fate to choose him. He'll claim his power with his own hand. Isaac knows the truth. The noble so-called divine gift is nothing but a stolen birthright. There's nothing holy about it. Every human carries the potential to wield electricity. All they need is the spark to awaken it. The power isn't reserved for the chosen few. It's hidden in everyone, buried deep within the human mind. He's discovered the secret. A specific part of the brain can be activated to channel and command electrical energy, letting the user control it as naturally as moving a limb. To keep that secret buried, the nobles created their infamous pill, artificial catalysts that forced the awakening process. With them, they ensured a steady stream of lightning-wielding elites to maintain their control over the kingdom. But Isaac knows that wasn't how it began. Long before the pills, there existed a purer, older method, one that required no chemicals or privilege, only willpower strong enough to survive the storm. And tonight, Isaac intends to prove it. The original method of awakening was far more brutal and far more powerful. The first humans to discover this ability hadn't been blessed by the gods or guided by science. They'd been struck by lightning. A direct hit from the heavens burned their limits away and awakened the power buried within. Compared to that, the nobles' pills were cheap imitation. Safer, yes, but diluted. A lightning strike grants a natural awakening far stronger than any artificial catalyst, but it carries one small downside. Most people don't survive it. Those who try usually end up as charred reminders of their own ambition. That's why the nobles studied the phenomenon, turning it into something controllable, something only they could distribute. Isaac remembers the first time it happened, his first life, when lightning chose him by pure chance. But tonight, he won't leave it to fate. The storm gathers above, thunder echoing across the peaks. A brilliant flash splits the clouds, and Isaac's heart pounds in rhythm with the sky. He raises his head, eyes blazing. "Come on, then," he growls. The golden bolt descends, tearing through the night, and Isaac roars back at the heavens, ready to claim his power once more. But the lightning slams into the ground beside him, missing its target. Isaac can only curse his luck. He had trained for this moment, planned every angle, and yet fate had shrugged. He knows with grim certainty another chance like this won't come. The storm is already moving on, its heart drifting toward a yawning chasm below. Thinking fast, he anchors a rope to the old tree, fingers from the strain, and prepares for one desperate gambit. With no other choice, he hurls himself into the open air, chasing the bolt across the blackened sky. The rope is a promise. One knot stands between him and oblivion, and he puts every ounce of faith into it. Wind screams in his ears as he swings, leaning into the storm, every muscle burning. He bellows at the heavens, challenging fate itself. Nothing will keep him from the revenge he's owed. At the cliff's lip he gathers speed, runs until his feet bleed, and launches into the void. The rope tightens, the knot holds, and for a breathless moment he hangs between earth and sky, daring the storm to strike. His heart hammers, This is the leap that will either make him or end him. With a powerful leap, Isaac hurls himself from the cliff's edge, the wind tearing past as he swings out over the abyss, a lone figure suspended beneath the raging sky. Thunder roars like the laughter of the gods, and this time, the heavens finally answer. A blinding bolt of golden lightning crashes down, engulfing him in a torrent of raw, searing energy. His eyes flare gold as electricity floods every nerve, every vein, turning pain into power. He grits his teeth, enduring the agony as his body becomes a living conduit for the storm itself. The rope that carried him burns away, threads turning to ash, its duty fulfilled. For an instant, the world is pure light, and then a crimson explosion rips across the mountainside, marking the moment of his awakening. When the smoke clears, Isaac drags himself from the scorched earth, body trembling, eyes alight with the storm's fury. His mind is consumed by one blazing thought: vengeance. He raises his hand, golden arcs dancing across his fingers, and roars to the sky, "This time, it's mine." Standing at the cliff's edge, Isaac feels the storm obey, his power reborn. Isaac remembers his first life, how awakening his power had only been the start of a long, grueling journey. Back then, it took years of trial and error, endless nights of pain and discipline, to truly master his ability. But this time is different. He's no confused novice fumbling in the dark. He's a man reborn with 20 years of experience. No more learning arcs, he's skipping straight to the final boss. The mountains tremble around him, the ground splitting beneath his feet as his power surges outward in a storm of crimson light. Isaac clenches his fist, feeling the weight of vengeance thrumming through his veins. His smirk cuts through the chaos. This is only the beginning. Testing his strength, he drives his fist into the ground, sending cracked spiderwebbing through solid rock. Satisfied, he focuses on the next step: speed. Electricity courses through him as he channels the storm's energy. Then, with a blinding flash, Isaac rockets down the mountain, a streak of crimson lightning tearing across the night. Isaac measures his new speed: 100 meters per second. Not bad, but nowhere near his old peak. With the basics down, he decides it's time to push things further and summon his ultimate weapon, his avatar. He gathers his energy, eyes glowing fiercely as the air hums with static. From the heavens descends a tiny, sputtering energy lizard. He blinks. That's it? That's his mighty spirit beast? A sigh escapes him. Clearly, his teenage body isn't yet strong enough to handle his full potential. He recalls that avatars are the pinnacle of power, manifestations of one's soul, requiring total mastery over the electric arts. A single true avatar wielder can level armies without even trying. Isaac knows he's not there yet, but he's patient. The mountains are quiet, the perfect place to rebuild his strength. Just as he begins focusing again, a familiar voice echoes through the valley, calling his name. He freezes mid-step, lightning still dancing across his hands, as the peaceful training ground suddenly feels a lot less quiet. Madeline, standing there, her expression a mix of worry and determination. She admits she followed him into the mountains because his strange behavior had made her suspicious, and now she demands to know how he suddenly became so powerful. Isaac freezes, realizing there's no easy way out of this one. With a weary sigh, he decides to tell her the truth, the impossible truth. Taking a deep breath, he braces himself and just drops it on her. He's a time traveler from the future. For a long moment, silence hangs between them. Then, Madeline's first reaction is a sharp punch to his arm, calling him an idiot for joking at a time like this. Isaac groans, realizing how ridiculous it sounds when said out loud. But to his surprise, Madeline studies his face, her anger fading as realization dawns. Against all logic, she believes in money. Thrilled that her brother has awakened, Madeline's mind immediately races ahead, joining the academy, earning money, maybe even standing up to the nobles and protecting their family. Isaac can practically see the schemes forming in her eyes. He quickly pulls her back to reality before she starts planning their grand future. He assures her he'll protect her no matter what, but stresses that his power must remain a secret for now. The nobles can't know what he's capable of, not yet. He starts to explain the dangers they're facing, but Madeline interrupts with a calm smile, telling him she trusts him completely. After all, he's already saved their lives once. Her warmth cuts through his guarded resolve. Then, with a teasing grin, she points out the jagged mark now running across his cheek, asking if it's permanent. Isaac freezes, panic flashing in his eyes. It's the same scar he bore in his first life. Wait, what do you mean last time? She asks suspiciously. Isaac forces a nervous laugh, turning away. Nothing, he mutters quickly. And so, under the quiet watch of the mountain peaks, Isaac's real training begins. He may have 20 years of battle experience, but his body still needs to catch up. Focusing deeply, he channels the raw storm coursing through his veins, feeling the lightning pulse with every heartbeat. His sister, Madeline, sits on a tree branch above, acting as his overly eager training partner. With a grin, she hurls a volley of stones, each one whistling through the air. His mission is simple: see them, track them, and dodge every single one. Isaac's eyes narrow as his battlefield instincts roar to life. He moves like a blur, each motion wrapped in crimson lightning. The ground cracks beneath his feet, the air humming with power. He's getting faster, sharper, but perfection is still just out of reach. One rock grazes his shoulder. Madeline smirks, teasing that his reflexes are too good for a beginner. If only she knew the truth. Madeline begs to be let down from her perch, but Isaac stays focused, insisting they're not done until he hits every single target. She groans that she's been stuck up there for hours, but he's relentless, moving in a blur of crimson lightning as he shatters each stone midair. Sparks flicker around him as he smirks, declaring the task complete, and then, of course, he raises the difficulty. Madeline's outraged yell echoes through the valley, while Isaac laughs for the first time in what feels like years. He reflects on how he once saw this second chance as a cruel twist of fate, a punishment forcing him to relive the past. But a week of training with his sister has changed that. Seeing her alive, smiling, and safe fills the hollow part of his heart he thought was gone forever. Each day ends with exhaustion, laughter, and peace, emotions he'd forgotten how to feel. For the first time in both his lives, Isaac wonders if fate didn't curse him, but blessed him instead. He reflects that this second chance is the best thing to happen in 20 years. A reunion with Silas is inevitable, he knows, but there is another score to settle first: the Revels, the family responsible for his suffering. In his first life he never secured justice for his kin, rank, politics, and their grand design to dismantle the system from within kept him from acting. That plan now tastes like ash and cowardice. Now there are no negotiations, no subtleties, only raw, honed power. He shapes a blade of pure electricity, its edge humming like a living thing, a promise carved in light. The mountain answers his fury, rock cracks and snow scatters as he releases a torrent of destructive force, testing his limit. He feels the knowledge of what must be done settle into him. This time there will be no patience for politics or schemes. His vow is simple and terrible: he will take the Revels apart until their name means nothing. No mercy given. His first target is Castle Rel, the heart of his enemy's domain. He scales the fortress walls in a blur of crimson energy, moving like a phantom and landing without a sound. The castle is heavily guarded, but they never even see him coming. For a man who moves like a living bolt of lightning, these guards might as well be standing still. Inside, the castle staff rushes to prepare the evening meal. The head chef yells at his underlings, terrified of keeping the nobles waiting. From the shadows above, Isaac observes in silence. Dinner time is the perfect opportunity, and a group of bored guards is about to make his wish come true. They complain bitterly about the alderman's broken promise to deliver them young women, their words dripping with cruelty. One of them interrupts with breaking news: the alderman is dead. Shock spreads among them, but it quickly fades, replaced by selfish worry about their vile desires. From above, Isaac's gaze hardens. These are the same men who planned to harm his sister and Hannah. His eyes burn with cold fury, his hands tightening as crimson energy gathers around him. Without a sound, he's ready to introduce them to their new stone companion. A flash of crimson light splits the darkness as the gargoyle he was perched on comes alive, its stony wings unfolding with a crack. It launches forward, slamming into the nearest guard with brutal force. The others freeze in terror, blaming a loose statue as their doom creeps closer. As they confirm their friend's demise, the remaining guards have no idea that the true monster is still watching from above. They dismiss the incident as a freak accident, unaware that what truly fell from the sky was their own life expectancy. Before they can react, a crimson blur slices through the darkness. Another guard collapses, lifeless before his body even hits the ground. Isaac watches the chaos unfold with silent precision. With the immediate threat neutralized, he knows the path ahead is open, but wandering aimlessly through the castle's maze of towers would be foolish. He channels his crimson lightning, energy sparking around him like a storm barely contained. In an instant, he launches upward, rocketing along the stone wall in a flash of red brilliance. The air cracks behind him as he lands atop the highest tower. From this vantage point, he finally spots his destination, the Count's personal quarters, glowing faintly under the torchlight. Without hesitation, he leaps across the rooftops, moving with surgical intent. This will not be a reckless rampage. It will be a systematic purge. Soon, he reaches a heavily guarded doorway. The Count must be just beyond it. Isaac's hand hums with restrained power as he makes a silent vow, the Count will pay in blood. The guards barely manage a shout before he descends like lightning, too fast to comprehend. With a single touch, he channels raw energy through a guard's blade, reducing him to ash. Isaac takes the fallen sword, steps through the shattered door, and faces the Count and his son. His eyes blaze with cold fury. Time to pay your butcher's bill. But Count Rel only smirks, utterly unshaken. Zeald smugly sips his drink, looking completely unbothered, as if he'd been expecting company all along. His smirk widens, confident that the alderman's killer would eventually come knocking. Yet, he doubts a mere peasant could have possibly killed their magically enhanced pawn. With a mocking grin, Zeald suggests that Isaac must have stolen the alderman's awakening pills instead. Then, with venomous humor, he makes a crude joke about whether the pills are working as advertised. Isaac's patience thins as Zeald's taunts grow more revolting. The nobles around him burst into laughter, their contempt for commoners echoing through the lavish hall. To them, Isaac is nothing but filth, a creature unworthy of acknowledgement. But Isaac's expression hardens. His voice cuts through their laughter as he calmly confirms that he did kill their traitorous pawn. Rather than shock, Zeald smirks and collects on a bet with one of his attendants. Apparently, betrayal and arrogance are family traditions in Castle Rel. The Count yawns, remarking that his son has a far better grasp of the peasant mindset. He launches into a smug tirade, ridiculing the savagery and ignorance of common folk. His speech, however, ends abruptly when a streak of crimson lightning scorches across the table, splitting a goblet in half. The room falls silent. Isaac's eyes blaze with fury as he asks, in a voice cold as death, if Zeald is familiar with a certain nickname, the one the capital nobles use, the pot-bellied pig. The Count's eyes glow with fury, his pride wounded by the peasant's insolence. His jaw tightens, rage simmering beneath his refined exterior. Isaac, however, shows no fear. Instead, he adds insult to injury, turning his cold gaze to the Countess and calling them a pair of pigs. The insult cuts deep, and even the noble servants flinch. Turns out, even tyrants can be bullied. The Countess's face twists with outrage, her golden energy flaring to life in waves of brilliance. With a shriek of fury, she promises to burn him alive. A blinding explosion of magic erupts through the chamber, the golden blast tearing across marble and steel. But when the smoke clears, Isaac stands completely unscathed, the air still crackling with residual power. He smirks, unbothered, his voice laced with mockery as he calls her by a vile name and asks if that's all she can muster. The Countess's confidence crumbles, disbelief written across her face. Refusing to accept defeat, she summons her full strength, preparing to unleash a second, even greater spell. But Isaac is already moving, his hand flickering with crimson lightning, faster than her eyes can track. Suddenly, her power spirals out of control. The Count's expression shifts to horror. "Stop, you fool. You never learned control," he screams, his voice breaking. Isaac knows what comes next, just one spark to ignite the unstable energy. With a casual flick of his wrist, the air detonates. The explosion consumes the Countess in a blinding storm of gold and red. "Mother!" Zeald roars, voice cracking with grief and fury. He lunges forward, golden lightning surging from his hand. But before he can strike, Isaac appears behind the Count, whispering coldly, "A swift family reunion." Enraged, Zeald unleashes everything he has. Crimson and gold collide, their clash shaking Castle Rel to its core. His battlefield instincts scream a warning, the Count is attacking from behind. Isaac twists away just in time as two roaring blasts of energy collide where he had been standing moments ago, shaking the entire chamber. The Count straightens with a cruel smirk, unimpressed by the boy's nimble dodges. "Running already? Typical peasant behavior," he sneers, his voice dripping with disdain. Slowly, he advances, lecturing Isaac on the folly of challenging his betters. His aura flares with gold, radiating oppressive heat as he prepares to end what he calls a pitiful uprising. He vows to burn Isaac's entire village to ashes for daring to oppose him. Isaac just smirks, the faintest spark of crimson lightning dancing along his fingertips. "Story time, piggies," he says coldly. "The wolf's finally at your door, and it's come to collect." Zeald's scream cuts through the tension as he lunges forward, grief and rage clouding his judgment. But to a man with 20 years of battle experience, the charge is painfully slow. Isaac sidesteps with ease, finding the boy's wild swings almost comical. Their pill-induced strength might impress commoners, but to him, it's hollow power. Suddenly, a beam of purple energy slices past his shoulder, a reminder that this fight isn't one-on-one. The Count joins the assault, his timing sharp, his strikes precise. Father and son coordinate like seasoned hunters, trying to pin Isaac down. Now, Zealed, strike. The Count commands, channeling another devastating blast. Zealed obeys, attacking from behind. But Isaac doesn't flinch. His eyes ignite, crimson lightning coursing through his veins as he plants his feet. In one blinding instant, he catches both attacks, bare-handed. Energy screams and crackles around him, the floor fracturing under the force. Checkmate, Isaac murmurs, releasing the combined power in a violent surge that sends the Count crashing backward. Turning to Zealed, he grabs the young noble by the throat, his grip like an iron vice, cold, unyielding, and absolute. Isaac's voice cuts through the silence like a blade as he mocks their claim of divine right. His hand crackles with deadly crimson energy, the air around him humming with lethal intent. Divine right? He scoffs, eyes blazing. All I see are pigs hiding behind crowns. With a final, devastating surge, he unleashes a crimson storm that engulfs the room. Zealed's scream is cut short as the energy tears through him, his body vanishing in the red haze. The Count howls in despair, his grief twisting into pure rage. Purple lightning bursts from his hands as he channels every ounce of his power into one furious strike. I'll erase you. He roars, unleashing a colossal wave of energy that swallows the chamber whole. The explosion rocks the castle to its foundations. Yet, when the dust finally settles, Isaac stands untouched amid the ruins, his cloak fluttering in the scorched air. The Count stares in disbelief. What are you? He demands. Isaac's expression darkens. Just a peasant, he says coldly, one who's spent a lifetime under your boot. And I've finally decided that's long enough. Realization dawns on the Count's face. Isaac's power wasn't stolen or bought, it's a natural awakening. His voice trembles as he mutters, "You've taken everything from me." Isaac smirks. "No. I just cleaned out the pigsty." Enraged, the Count warns him that killing him will damn his soul, that the nobles will never forgive this. But Isaac doesn't even blink. When the Count points to the pendant on his chest, the symbol of his noble blood, Isaac rips it away with a flick of his wrist. The Count scrambles on the floor, shouting that a peasant is unworthy to touch the blood droplet. Isaac turns the pendant over in his hand, crimson light reflecting off the gem. "Don't be so sure," he murmurs. "This time, I'll be the one doing the hunting." With one final slash of blazing energy, the Count's reign of terror ends. The Rel bloodline falls silent, and Castle Rel stands in ruin, now belonging to its new, very angry master. The castle of Revel looms against the night sky, its towers silhouetted by the pale moonlight. The air is thick with smoke and the lingering scent of battle, yet Isaac's work is far from done. The eastern provinces of the kingdom of Gallia sleep unaware, but within the ruined fortress, crimson streaks flash through the corridors as Isaac races through the halls. He's hunting, not for blood this time, but for the castle's true treasure. His mind is locked on a single prize, arcanite, the rarest and most valuable mineral in the world. A resource of immense power, arcanite is coveted by nobles who use it to forge their crest, amplifying their lightning-based magic beyond natural limit. Only the richest lords in the capital possess any in quantity. But Isaac remembers the Count's arrogance, his constant boasting about the endless veins of arcanite beneath his land. If the old pig was telling the truth, his personal stash should be nearby. He storms through corridor after corridor until a heavily reinforced door catches his attention. Inside, resting on a pedestal, sits a suspiciously ornate treasure chest. Isaac wastes no time fumbling for keys. A burst of crimson lightning shatters the lock instantly. But when he lifts the lid, his anticipation collapses into disappointment. Only a single shard of arcanite glimmers inside. Pathetic, he mutters. He'd hoped for enough to forge a blade, but this sliver won't even make a dagger. Still, a grin tugs at his lip. With the Revel family gone, his village will finally know peace, at least for a while. The nobles will take time to react, and by then, his next move will already be set. Isaac pockets the shard, gazing out the window. "The academy awaits," he murmurs. "And this time, the nobles won't see me coming." He smiles. He couldn't wait to see their faces when he told them he was one of the awoken. The thought alone made him grin as he walked, crimson sparks flickering faintly around his fingertip. But then, his mind wandered, back to his first life, back to when everything had been so painfully different. He remembered stumbling down the mountain after that strange accident, his body numb, his veins alive with electric agony. He'd thought he was dying, barely making it to the village before collapsing for days. When he finally awoke, the villagers had surrounded him, shouting his name, their faces lit with relief and awe. He'd tried to speak, to brush off their worry, and in that moment, an uncontrolled spark had burst from his hands, lighting up the night. It was his first taste of magic, raw and wild. The people had cheered, lifting him on their shoulders, calling him their guardian, their hope. For the first time, a peasant's son had been blessed with power, a miracle, they said, that would shield them from the cruelty of nobles. Money would come, safety would follow, and his people would finally know peace. That was the dream. Now, in the present, Isaac's smile softened. He wondered how they'd react this time, how they'd look when he told them he'd done it again, that their protector had truly returned. But as the village came into view, his expression froze. Something was wrong. The streets were empty. No laughter, no lights, not even the bark of a stray dog. A heavy silence smothered the air. His heart kicked into overdrive. In a burst of crimson lightning, he raced forward, shouting for Madeline and Gaben. No answer. He tore through the square, no blood, no struggle, nothing. Just silence. His pulse thundered as dread gripped him. Where the hell is everyone? He whispered. But the silence is suddenly shattered by a burst of laughter and the crack of party pop. Isaac flinches in surprise as colorful paper rains down on him. The entire village explodes into cheers, rushing toward him in a wave of excitement. They swarm him with questions, voices overlapping as they hail him as their new noble protector. His mother stands at the center of the crowd, her face glowing with pride, and calls out for a demonstration of his new power. Isaac's jaw tightens. He shoots a glare at his sister, Meline, his tone sharp with irritation. This was supposed to be a secret. Meline grins sheepishly, her hands raised in mock defense. I only told 1 or 2 people, she admits. Plus, maybe everyone else. The local children gather around him, eyes sparkling with pure wonder. They bombard him with wild requests. Can you jump over the clouds? Split a mountain in half? Fly to the sun? And back? Their laughter fills the air, their joy impossible to ignore. Even the adults join in, urging him to show just a little spark of magic. Isaac tries to brush them off, insisting he's not a performer. But the eager faces staring back at him soften his resolve. With a tired sigh, he lifts his hand, crimson lightning crackling to life across his fingers. The air hums with power as he carefully shapes it into a galloping horse made of light. The glowing creature sprints across the square before fading into sparks, leaving the villagers awestruck. The crowd erupts into cheers, chanting his name over and over. For a brief moment, Isaac almost smiled. But then, the celebration halts as heavy footsteps echo behind him. The villagers fall silent. A deep, commanding voice cuts through the quiet. Isaac, you're the one I've been looking for. Isaac turns sharply, eyes narrowing at the unexpected visitor. From the shadows at the edge of the square, a massive figure steps forward, his frame cloaked in a tattered wolfskin mantle. The air seems to thicken with his presence, and the villagers instinctively retreat. The man's face is marked with scars, his expression calm but predatory. His piercing gray eyes lock onto Isaac. So, he says, his deep voice echoing through the quiet square, you're the newly awoken. The only one strong enough around here to take down the alderman. Isaac tenses instantly. He knows that voice, that reputation. Reshak, the infamous leader of the Silver Wolves. A mercenary warlord whose band once terrorized entire province. Isaac clenches his fists, realizing his low-profile life is over before it even began. Reshak stops a few paces away, resting his hand on the massive blade strapped to his back. That old fool, the alderman, he begins, used to wear our colors once. A silver wolf, pathetic, but still one of ours. Word reached me he's dead, and our code demands his death be answered. Isaac's expression hardens. He meets Reshak's stare without flinching. Then I won't deny it. Yeah, I killed him. He deserved every second of it. To Isaac's surprise, Reshak actually laughs, a deep, gravelly sound. Oh, I believe it. He was scum through and through. But a code is a code, boy. You understand honor, right? That means I'm bound to fight you, even if you were in the right. Reshak draws his sword with a slow, deliberate motion. The weapon hums with energy, its edge glowing faintly. Isaac's eyes widen when he spots the gem embedded in the hilt, Arcanite. The same rare ore he's been hunting. Reshak notices his gaze and smirks. Fine, isn't it? Bet you've never seen one like it. Then, with a thunderous crack, he slams his fist onto the gem, flooding the blade with blinding energy. The name's Reshak of the Silver Wolves, he growled. And I'm here to challenge you, to a duel to the death. Gaben steps forward, grabbing Isaac's arm, his voice trembling with panic. Don't listen to him, Isaac. We'll help you get away. He shouts, holding up a pitchfork like it might actually protect them. But Isaac doesn't budge. His crimson eyes flick toward his friend, calm and resolute. "Sorry, Gaben," he says quietly, prying the pitchfork from his grasp. "But I'll be borrowing this." Gaben stares at him, stunned. "Isaac, are you crazy?" he blurts, his voice cracking. Isaac only smiles faintly, the crimson lightning starting to crackle around his arm. "Being awoken changes the rules a bit," he says, eyes glowing brighter with every pulse of energy. The air vibrates with raw tension as he locks his gaze on the arcanite blade in Rishak's hand. Rishak's grin widens. "Good," he says, planting his sword into the ground with a heavy thud. "Then let's end this now." Without warning, the Silver Wolf leader charges forward, his enormous sword glowing with blinding energy. The ground splits beneath his feet as he swings. Isaac meets the blow head-on, parrying with the pitchfork, sparks erupting where steel and lightning collide. But Isaac quickly realizes Rishak's tactics, the man striking from within the crowd, using the villagers as living shield. Isaac curses under his breath, forced to hold back his power. "Everyone, get back," he yells, dodging a crushing blow that leaves a crater in the dirt. Rishak laughs darkly. "What's wrong, boy? Afraid you'll fry your own people?" His tone drips with mockery. "You awoken always hesitate. That's why nobles fear us mercenaries. We don't hold back." Isaac grits his teeth, sparks flickering wildly around. He digs the pitchfork into the ground, steadying himself. "You're right," he mutters, crimson lightning surging to life once more. "Let's see how long that smile lasts when I stop holding back." With a sharp pivot, Isaac shifts his stance, ready to turn the tables. He can't risk a wide-area attack with villagers still nearby, but he can channel his power through a single point. Crimson lightning courses down his arms, surging into the pitchfork until it glows like molten metal. With a fierce yell, he drives it forward, but Rishak reacts instantly, bringing up his massive blade to block. The clash sends shockwaves rippling through the ground. Rishak grins through the sparks. "Not bad, boy. You've got some bite," he growls as their weapons grind together. Isaac ducks under the next brutal swing, his movements sharp and precise. Without noble-born magic to aid him, Rishak's attacks follow predictable patterns, and Isaac's eyes track every one of them. Then Isaac roars, surging forward with renewed force. He hurls the electrified pitchfork like a spear, the weapon whistling through the air in a flash of crimson light. But Rishak easily deflects it, the pitchfork embedding into the dirt beside him. "You'll have to do better than that, boy," he taunts, lowering his blade. Isaac's eyes narrow, electricity dancing across his fingertips. He knows brute force won't win this, not with innocence in range. A new idea sparks to life. He rushes toward the grounded pitchfork, using it as a focus point. Energy floods the metal, and he pivots around it, using the motion to control his explosive power. Rishak's grin fades. The boy moves faster, sharper, than before. Isaac swings with blinding speed, his controlled slash forcing the Silver Wolf leader backward, the ground trembling beneath the impact. With a powerful leap, Isaac aims a decisive strike at Rishak's exposed back, crimson lightning flaring along his weapon. But his eyes widen in disbelief as the blow glances off harmlessly, sparks scattering into the air. Rishak chuckles darkly, barely moved. "Not bad, boy," he says, "but you're not the only one with tricks." The wolf pelt draped over his armor stirs, then transforms into a snarling, living beast fused to his body. Isaac steps back, stunned, as realization hits him. This isn't ordinary armor, it's arcanite, alive and resonating with magic. Rishak grins. "Name's Rishak the Noble Slayer," he growls, "and you're my next hunt." Rishak promises to show Isaac the true terrifying power of the rare mineral. With a powerful strike to his own arcanite, then back, he activates the armor's hidden ability while saying, "You must be wondering how a commoner like me got his hands on this ore." The arcanite absorbs the impact, releasing a surge of stored electricity that crackles violently through the air. Rishak repeats, louder this time, "You must be wondering how a commoner like me got his hands on this ore." He then reveals with a grin that he stole all this precious ore from none other than Count Rel. His voice rises into a roar as he declares that once he's done with Isaac, he's coming for the Count himself. He boasts with dark pride that Isaac will be the sixth lightning freak to join his kill list. Isaac feels the immense power radiating from his opponent's armor, the raw energy distorting the air around them. Rishak moves with blinding speed, slamming his blade down with explosive force, each strike heavier than the last. Isaac struggles to hold his ground, his focus split, the entire village is watching from the sideline. He knows he can't unleash his full power without risking innocent lives. His family watches in terror, their hopes and fears resting on his shoulders. Reshak's mastery of the Arcanite armor is clearly on another level. Isaac can't use the full extent of his power without endangering everyone. Villagers stand frozen in fear, barely able to breathe. Isaac narrows his eyes, thinking, Reshak's power with Arcanite is considerable, but at its core, it's a crutch. There might be a way to turn his own power against him. He recalls, Arcanite, the most valuable ore in the world, coveted for its ability to store and catalyze electricity. Its unique properties allow it to store and amplify electrical energy, a secret the nobles have guarded for generations to strengthen their weapons and armor. But for those without noble blood, the ore is unstable, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Overload its capacity, and it detonates with devastating results. Isaac smirks, realizing Reshak's armor must hold only a limited charge. Reshak's eyes flare with intensity as he circles Isaac. He admits, almost impressed, that the boy's endurance surpasses any opponent he has faced, even Count Rel's vassal. Then, with a grim grin, he growls, "Have you heard of Baron Delisle? I killed him. That bastard murdered my family." His words strike with the weight of tragedy and hatred. He continues his furious assault, every swing faster and heavier than the last. "I swore on the graves of my murdered sons that I'd wipe every noble off the face of the earth," he roars. "And now that you're one of the awoken, you're just like them." His attacks become wild, fueled by his rage and grief. But Isaac doesn't waste breath replying. His focus narrows on the faint pulses of light racing across the Arcanite's surface. He sees the armor's energy flow, unstable, overloaded, and dangerous. Sparks dance across his fingertips as he presses his palm to the ground, channeling his electricity into a precise trap. Reshak leaps into the air, blade raised high for the finishing blow, lightning crackling along his weapon. But Isaac steadies himself, eyes glowing crimson. He's found his opening, the weak point in the armor's charge. If I'm going to survive this, he thinks, I'll have to go all out, and turn his power against him. Reshak laughs, impressed that Isaac is putting up a better fight than his previous victims. The man's grin widens, his confidence growing with every exchange of blows. He brings his blade down for the killing strike, the air around it screaming with pressure. Isaac's timing must be perfect. He knows that even a split-second delay would mean instant death. He needs to block Reshak's strike at the last possible moment. Not too soon, not too late. He waits, his eyes locked on the descending blade, his entire focus narrowed to that single motion. And at the very last second, Isaac catches the warrior's wrist mid-swing, stopping the deadly strike cold. Reshak scoffs, clearly amused, mocking the boy for choosing to block instead of dodge. "Isaac," he sneered, "you just gonna stand there and take my blow?" He thinks the boy's decision is a fatal mistake, but Isaac is only getting started. With a calm, steady expression, Isaac declares that the fight is already over. His eyes burn with intense crimson light as he reveals his true advantage, electricity flickering across his arms like veins of molten fire. Isaac said, "You may be stronger than me, Reshak, but I'm more skilled than you. You see, I just juiced your Arcanite." The scene flashes, Isaac's hand gripping the part of the sword where the Arcanite is embedded. He's been feeding it his own lightning all along, a direct surge of raw, unstable power far greater than the armor was ever designed to contain. Reshak's expression twists from arrogance to horror. He can only scream as the borrowed energy turns against him in a violent surge. The power overload detonates in a massive explosion that shakes the entire village square. When the dust clears, his legendary sword clatters to the ground. Reshak gasps, his body burned and trembling, his armor reduced to a smoking ruin. Isaac exhales slowly, muttering that it takes years of training to handle that kind of raw energy. His friends and the villagers rush to his side in relief, while the fallen silver wolf can only stare, mind shattered by defeat. Reshak demands to know how a mere boy could have bested him. His voice trembles between rage and disbelief. Isaac, calm and composed, explains that he simply turned the warrior's own power against him. The noble slayer stares at him, stunned by the brutal simplicity of the tactic. After a moment of silence, he exhales heavily, accepting his fate. With weary eyes, he asks Isaac to grant him a warrior's end. A final blow, an honorable death. But Isaac just shakes his head, closing his eyes before giving a firm refusal. "Hard pass," he says flatly. Reshak's eyes widen in disbelief, completely thrown off by the answer. He roars in frustration, shouting that Isaac can't deny him an honorable death. Apparently, there are rules for this sort of thing, codes of warrior conduct that Isaac is clearly not following. Isaac responds evenly, explaining that he's not a mercenary and doesn't live by their code. He follows something different, something he calls the Code of the Protectors, a rule book he's clearly writing on the fly. According to his new code, the loser must serve the victor. With a confident smirk, he points straight at the stunned warrior and lays out the terms of surrender. He declares that Rishak, the legendary noble slayer, will now serve him. Rishak is taken aback, his disbelief turning to curiosity. How could this kid possibly know so much about him? Isaac leans in closer, lowering his voice. They share a common goal, a burning desire to see the entire corrupt nobility reduced to ashes. Isaac tells him that a warrior like Rishak would be a valuable ally in what's coming. Then, with a firm pat on the chest, he gives his first order: protect this village. He explains his plan: the Silver Wolves will guard his home while he heads to the capital, to prepare a very special welcome for the nobles. Rishak studies him for a long moment, then nods with respect. Seeing the same fire for vengeance in Isaac's eyes, he accepts his new mission, a vow sealed with a warrior's honor. As long as he draws breath, no harm will come to this village or its people. Those are Rishak's solemn words, a vow sealed by honor. But Isaac isn't done just yet. He has one final, rather bold request for his new vassal. With casual confidence, he informs Rishak that he'll be borrowing his legendary sword, permanently. You know, for keeps, he adds with a faint smirk. He explains that the arcanite gem embedded in the hilt is exactly what he needs for what comes next. And so, with the precious ore now in his hands, Isaac sets to work. In the heart of the flames, he forges a new weapon, his weapon. He explains his design choices with precision, crafting a blade built to channel his crimson lightning more efficiently. It's a custom job, a weapon perfectly attuned to his awoken power. In the process, he's basically inventing the next decade of magical military technology, giving himself a massive head start over the rest of Gallia. When the forging is done, he wraps the hilt with quick, practiced movements. The finished sword gleams under the firelight, a symbol of vengeance and rebirth. With his home now secure and his future weapon complete, Isaac bids a heartfelt farewell to the people he fought to protect. His sister, his friends, and even Rishak, his newly sworn vassal, gather to see him off. His mother's eyes glisten with pride. The villagers wave and cheer, placing their faith and hopes in the young protector who's already changed their fate. Isaac gives them one last confident grin, promising to return stronger than ever. Then, with his new sword strapped to his back, he sets off toward the horizon. His destination, the academy, the same place his first life began. But this time, he's not returning as a naive student. He's coming back as a man forged in vengeance, ready to face his future, and the traitor who shattered his past, Silas Montfort.